What's up, guys? Welcome to another Sean Logan video. And in this video, I'm going to talk about why people are stuck working like slaves every day of their life. Many of them for their entire life. Many people have literally worked like a slave their entire life, and then they die. And that's the American dream. So how did all this get to be the way it is? Why did all this happen? Let me explain something to you. This entire country, the United States, it's been hijacked by a bunch of Satanists. And we know from the symbolism. See, when you study symbolism, you really can start to decode the reality that we're experiencing right now. These Satanists, they've been using the same symbolism for hundreds and hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of years. It dates back very, very far, thousands of years, realistically. We can see the symbolism in Hollywood, in the film, in the movie industry. We can see the symbolism in the music industry. Look at what kind of symbolism is being used with famous artists like Lady Gaga. Look at the symbolism being used in music videos from Kesha. Look at the symbolism that's used in the layout of Washington, D.C. Look at all the symbolism all around you, and you're going to see satanic symbolism everywhere. So these Satanists, these are the same people that have hijacked the banking system. They've taken complete control of the money supply in the United States. They've taken complete control of the governments and the congressmen, which the word con artist, that's where that word comes from. Congress, con artist, con man, a liar, a thief, a fraud. They've taken control of like almost every aspect of people's lives. And they've also taken control of the education system, where they indoctrinate people from a very, very young age. In fact, they've indoctrinated almost everyone for multiple generations now. And people are just passing along the knowledge, this false reality, to their children, and so on. It's like the blind leading the blind. The other thing that they've taken control of is the healthcare system. The other thing they've taken control of aside from that is the food. All of this stuff, they've infiltrated into every single aspect, and they're trying to pull strings and do things behind the scene to further enslave people. So you got everyone's wealth being stolen. In fact, you got pretty much, like, if you think about it, you got about half of everyone's life is going to be stolen from them because of the way that the monetary system's been constructed. So first off, people are losing 40% of their wealth through taxation. Or, well, not just 40%. 40% of the money that they earn working is stolen through taxation. And then when they go and buy anything, there's extra taxes on top of everything they buy. So if you add all that up, really it's probably more like 50 to 60% of your life, of your wealth, is stolen through taxation. And this is all part of the brainwashing, part of the indoctrination. It's getting really dark over here. I'm just walking along this path. There's some more lights up here. We'll be able to see a little better in a minute. But so people are literally working their entire life and having more than half of what they work for stolen from them. So that keeps people living in constant state of stress and anxiety, because most people don't even make enough money to support themselves, let alone ever get ahead in life and like retire and buy a house or anything. Most people just work, and they make just barely enough to just barely scrape by with barely any freedom. And as these Satanists are extracting all the money and all this wealth from people, they're going around the world and they're snatching up children and they're sacrificing them. They're doing like rituals and they're sacrificing children. And we all know this now because of, one, the symbolism, and because of Epstein Island, which is something there's a lot of false information going around. But you can look at the symbolism on Epstein Island, do a quick search, Epstein Island, satanic symbolism, and they've got all these satanic symbols all over the place, with a temple, a satanic temple, where they were sacrificing children. And the other thing that they were doing there was adrenochrome harvesting. And adrenochrome is a really powerful drug that they prefer, that is generated, well, it's produced by the adrenal glands in a human body. But the way to get the most purest form of it is from a child, because it's more, children are more energetic, they're less toxic, it's more pure when you can extract it from a child. So what they do is they snatch up children, they take them to Epstein Island, and then they torture them to death, because when you torture someone, your adrenal glands release that drug, adrenochrome. So they're harvesting this drug through torturing children, and then they're even including this stuff in like the Hollywood movies. There was this movie, and it was, well, a novel actually, called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. That's actually Las Vegas behind me over there. But there's a movie called Fear and Loathing in Las Vegas. In the movie, Johnny Depp plays the main character, but basically the movie is about these two guys. They're driving to Las Vegas, and on the way there, they're trying out all these different drugs. They're trying LSD and all kinds of stuff, and then it gets to a scene where they're in the hotel, and he pulls out this drug, and he says, "Hey, you got to try this. It's called adrenochrome. It's the craziest shit you've ever had," or something like that. And
what is this shit? That stuff makes pure masculine seem like ginger beer, man. Adrenochrome. Adrenochrome?
He takes the drug, and then while he's getting high on the drug, all of a sudden he meets the devil. And this novel was written back in 1971. So like these Satanists, they're showing us what they do through the Hollywood movies and through their symbolism. So I mean, they've been doing that for decades and decades in this country, and then we can trace back this symbolism hundreds and hundreds of years back. So it's just absolutely absurd, the country that we live in, and how indoctrinated and brainwashed everyone's become. I mean, they're so indoctrinated and brainwashed that they have them reciting these cute little songs like "I pledge allegiance to the flag," one nation under God, but it's actually one nation under a bunch of Satanists. And again, we know this because of the symbolism. It's almost like it's hiding in plain sight if you study symbolism. Same thing if you ever study etymology, which is the study of language, like where words come from and how and why words are formulated. If you study etymology, that's another skill that will immediately allow you to start decoding the reality, the false reality that's been indoctrinated on everyone here in the United States. For example, the word government, we can study the etymology of the word government. It's Latin. There's two words in Latin where government comes from. Gubernare, which means to control or to govern or to dictate, and then mente, which means mind. So the word government literally means to control the mind, and that's exactly what these Satanists have done through our government here in the United States, is they've brainwashed everyone, and they're all under mind control, literally. That's why in the public education system, which they've also hijacked, children are taught to mindlessly regurgitate information rather than question it. That's why they stand up every day and say, "I pledge allegiance to the flag, one nation under God," and all this crap. And it's really just all ran by a bunch of Satanists. It is absolutely ridiculous how brainwashed people are. But it could all be corrected and fixed relatively quickly if we can make information like this go viral on the internet, and we can wake people up. Now that we live in the age of social media and we can share information much easier, they're fighting against that too. In fact, there's Facebook has a patent on a technology called shadow banning, which is basically it's an artificial intelligence, it's a computer that is monitoring all the activity on all the major social networks, because remember, the Satanists have also taken control of all the major social networks, not just the mainstream media, which is like Hollywood and mainstream television, but they've also now taken control of the mainstream social networks, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter, and they have an artificial intelligence patent that is monitoring all the activity. And when they all of a sudden see people talking about things like government corruption and HARP or weather control or chemtrails or government conspiracies or anything that's like that's trending that they don't want people talking about, they've programmed artificial intelligence to pick out who's talking about that on social media, and then what they do is they limit their visibility. That's called shadow banning, and you can look it up, see who has the patent on shadow banning. It's very heavily censored now. They're trying to control the information. In fact, I've been shadow banned and censored before on YouTube. About 1 year ago, a little over a year ago, there was a big shooting here in Las Vegas at this Route 91 country music festival, and I made a video about it, and I was exposing the mind control, about MK Ultra mind control, about how these mass shootings are all orchestrated by the Satanists to push gun control agenda because they want to disarm the citizens so that they can throw us in concentration camps. And my video, it got 85,000 views in just a couple hours. Like immediately after I posted it, I had 85,000 views so quickly. And then YouTube took my video down. They removed my video and sent me this warning and said, your video violates our terms and conditions. And they gave me a strike on my channel, and they removed the video. And it probably would have gotten millions and millions of views if they would have left it up. But then that would have been millions and millions of people in this country learning about MK Ultra mind control and learning about the gun control agendas. And I was talking about like how there's certain drugs out there that can be used to control people's minds and all. I went into all kinds of crazy conspiracies on there, and they took the video down. So the censorship is real, the shadow banning is real, the Satanism is real, and they've infiltrated almost every aspect of our lives. They've infiltrated the food industry. They pass all these laws about who can put what in what kind of food, and people are getting sick all the time because the food is having all these growth hormones and all these bad ingredients, and they're injecting stuff into it, fluoride in the water, chemtrails, all kind. I mean, the list goes on and on and on and on. So they have to keep the people sick all the time so that they go and they buy the pharmaceutical drugs. Again, that's like part of the collateral. It's like as long as they can keep people sick all the time, the pharmaceutical companies that are controlled by all the Satanists, they rake in billions and billions and billions of dollars. So they have to constantly be poisoning the food, spraying chemtrails in the air, fluoride in the water, keeping people living in fear, because fear is a low vibration. That's why on the mainstream news there's always shootings. They have to have mass shootings everywhere all the time. There always has to be war and conflict, and there always has to be a constant stream of negative news, because it keeps people living in a lower vibration. And when people are living in a lower vibration, they're more susceptible to getting diseases all the time. And they go to the doctor. The doctors are all brainwashed. The doctors, their education to get their doctorate's degrees is all also been hijacked by the Satanists. So they just train the doctors to sell you more addictive drugs that in the long run usually end up make people even more sick. There, we can see Vegas a little better now. See right there, that is the stratosphere. I'm not sure if we can see the light from the Luxor Pyramid right now. I'm only like a 15-minute drive from Las Vegas Boulevard over there. Anyways, look at the symbolism, study etymology. you'll be surprised at all the things that are hidden in plain sight. Another interesting one when you start studying etymology is the word mortgage. Mortgage, you know, when you mortgage a home? Have you ever wondered why when people mortgage a home, it's like they're trying to pay it off for their entire life? Like, it literally takes them their entire freaking life to pay it off. In fact, they never pay it off, because not only like based off the wages that they've made for people, but the property tax on top of it, plus the interest rates. So first you got people trying to pay off this house for their entire life, and then even if they do pay it off, they're charged property tax over and over again for it. So it's almost like they're paying more than what it's worth because of the interest rates, but then they're going to pay double what it's worth plus those interest rates after the entire lifetime of being taxed with the property tax. So the word mortgage also comes from two words in Latin. Mort, as in mortuary, which is like the dead, where the dead go, to the mortuary. Mort, that's where that root word comes from. And then gage, which is a pledge or a contract. So the word mortgage means death pledge. Death pledge. Like when you go to the bank and ask for a mortgage, it's literally like you're saying, give me a death pledge. See, that's how the whole language was formulated. It's almost like whoever formulated the English language this way, like it seems as almost they did it like with a sick sense of humor, like as a joke. It's like, ha ha ha. You know, like the way they formulated it, the word government means mind control, mortgage means death pledge. And you wonder, why is etymology not taught in the education system? Why is symbolism not taught in the education system? You start to see why? Because it wakes people up, and they don't want people to wake up. There's a researcher that I've been following for quite a while now. I've listened to tons of his podcasts. I've read his books. He goes by 4-Bidden Knowledge, like the number 4 and then Bidden Knowledge on Instagram. And he's also shadow banned and censored all the time on Instagram and on social media. But in one of his podcasts, he talks about how he attended an Egyptian mystery school. And in the mystery school, what they taught him was that back in the days of Egypt, how they had the gods, and then they had the governments, and then they had basically the slaves, or the worker class, you know, the people, like all these people that live out here in the city. And the gods, they were genetically different. Their DNA was of a different genetics. They were more highly advanced. Their brains were bigger. Their pineal glands were bigger. They were more advanced genetically and technologically. And back in the days of ancient Egypt, they had 3 different sets of languages. So the gods, they knew all 3 languages. There was the language of the gods, then there was the language of the governments, and then there was the language of the poor people, the slaves. And in the education system that they formulated for the poor people, for the common folks, for the slaves, they only taught them that one language. And then the governments, they were taught the language of the government and the language of the poor people. And then the gods, they didn't teach their own language to the 2 lower classes. So they're literally controlling the way that people perceive reality through the language. And we see that here. We see that now in the English language, the way that everything's been formulated from Latin, and the way that the English language has been formulated through all of its Latin roots. Anyways, I'm just here trying to wake people up from the false reality that's been indoctrinated upon them. Hope you all appreciate my efforts, and I hope you start to study etymology and symbolism and pass the knowledge along to other people, because we could make this world a much more prosperous, a much better place just by sharing some of this information and by ignoring these governments, ignoring the false authority that they've tried to indoctrinate everyone with. You know, stop paying taxes. Stop showing up for court. Stop paying the mortgage. Stop paying your interest rates. Stop using the banks. Stop using the USD. Start using things like gold, silver. Start using Bitcoin, Litecoin, Ethereum, and decentralized forms of digital money that they don't control. Start collecting rainwater, and then start sharing this kind of stuff with as many people as you can. Like, ideally, people that are in some kind of position of influence, because the faster we can get it all out, the faster we can all get our freedom back. Did you know that your birth certificate is sold on Wall Street? It's like collateral. The Satanists have literally sold you off as collateral. Like, as long as you stay here in this country and you keep being a good little obedient worker slave and paying your taxes and conforming and obeying the law, and you have your birth certificate, which is, if you look at it, it's just like the certificate of a car. It's like the title of a car. It looks almost just like it. It's like I have this title to my car, like I because I own it. Well, that's how they view you with your birth certificate. They're like, I have their birth certificate. I own them. I own the American citizens. This is my collateral. That's how they see it. Anyways, the list goes on and on and on and on. I'm just barely scratching the surface of this stuff. So I'm going to cut this video because it's been like 20 minutes. I don't want to bore you too much. Hopefully you're not bored with this. Hopefully you're going to go and look up all this stuff that I'm saying and see for yourself that it's true. All right, I got to go. See you guys later.